Hello and welcome to the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling. My host, JP John Poz, with me today, very special guest, perhaps filmed maybe the most famous footage in WWF history, if you really go back and look at it, the man behind the curtain call himself at Madison Square Garden, Mani Mohtadi. Welcome in. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on, John. It's awesome.
What is going on in your world? Because I feel like every year around this time, you got to get a certain credit for the curtain call, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every year this time May comes around, it's 29 years later. I get fans randomly, even today, just an hour ago, just messaging me about that and how I'm a legend and everything. But it's really not me that's a legend. Me and my friend Jason Cosmides were the ones that recorded it. It's what the guys did in the ring is what makes it legendary. We just have to capture. That's all.
Love it. Did you know going in that something crazy was going to happen, that you wanted to film it, or were you going to film it irregardless? That you were going to have your cameras on you no matter what?
Well, the thing was, me and Jason were both not only tape collectors, but we recorded everything. Jason was the guy with the camera. He would sneak in the camera all the time, not just at Madison Square Garden, but at Nassau Coliseum. That was like probably our eighth show recording. So we were going to record it anyway, I should say. And it was at the Garden, so it makes it even much more special. For me, I used to just record everything and get some tapes from my hotline, from my callers that would call in. And I wasn't really a tape trader, but from my hotline, they would give me tapes. So besides that, I would tape everything that was on TV. He would do the house show stuff recording. I would do Live Wire, Mania, Superstars, Wrestling Challenge, all the pay-per-views, and ECW TV, and all the NWA, WCW Nitro, WCW Saturday Night. I would be in charge of recording all those and gathering a huge tape collection. And Jason's, I would say, job was he would bring in the camcorder and, record the house shows where most of the time nothing ever happens.
Right. Yeah. True. So for this instance, obviously you're filming it and it turns into something legendary. Did you know something was going to happen that night? Did you know Hall and Nash were on their way out? Did you know they were going to WCW?
Well, I had to know what was going on because as a 16-year-old kid, I was already kind of in the business on the outside. I had a wrestling hotline at 16. I had a merchandise hotline, and I had all these news lines. I used to get my news from so many different sources, the WCW hotline, and I actually had a 1-800 hotline that I actually hacked to use as a wrestling hotline, and that became pretty popular. I used to sell tapes on there and all that. So I was always in the know what was going on, even at that age, at 16. So I knew months and months before that, they were leaving, and it was an amazing night that night. I can't even describe it. That's how crazy it was.
I love it though. You were an entrepreneur, like kind of, you got your own hotline. You're only 16. You got merch. That's awesome. Where did that come from?
Well, the hotline came from there was a system called on Super Nintendo called X Band. I used to just update news on there daily, and I just called it WWF. No one took the name, and once that hit, I said, "Hey, I'm going to start a hotline. It's a 1-800 hotline. Call this for the news and everything." And it became really popular, and that's how it started.
Man, just amazing to think. Like, wow, because I'm I think 14 at this point. But I don't even know. But I'm calling the Mean Gene Hotline, and he's saying that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are signed with WCW. I didn't even realize who Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were when I was calling up the hotline. So because he didn't say Razor Ramon, he didn't say Diesel, so I had no idea what he was referring to. But man, it's crazy to think like that was going on, and the fans in the Garden were like, "Wait a second, baby faces and heels, Michaels and Diesel and Triple H and Razor." So, did you know about like the Kliq and stuff? Did you know that was a backstage, kind of faction?
Not at all. Not that's the one thing. I had to be in the know of everything, and that was the one thing I did not know at the time. I didn't know Hunter was friends with Scott, Kevin. I just saw what was on the air, And we had, I fed off the dirt sheets and everything like that, so I had to get my news from there. And that's one thing nobody really knew until that night, that hey, these guys are all friends.
When you look at it, right, leading up, and I was always wondering this because I'm from New Jersey, lived in basically central Jersey kind of my whole life, really, when you look at it, but especially during that era, the mid 90s, I was in central Jersey. I remember we get, looking at papers, whether it be the Post or wherever, they would have ads for Madison Square Garden. They had an ad for May 19th, 96 for that show. Nobody was on the ad except for the Ultimate Warrior, and it was Ultimate Warrior's return to the Garden. How much is like Warrior to the 19,000 people that were there? Like, how much of a draw was he for you for that show? And was that the same thing for you? Was that where you were saying he was the only guy kind of being advertised?
Great question. And that brings up to a point where that was the first time Madison Square Garden actually legitimately sold out, not just because of the Warrior, but because of the steel cage match, Shawn and Diesel going on. And remember, back in those days, house shows every day, consecutive results, same thing. But for that Attitude Adjustment Tour, I think that's what it was called. All the results were different from the towns before. But Warrior did have a lot to do with it because that was the Warrior's return to the Garden, and that was the night that he actually did the shoulder block and broke Owen Hart's arm, and that's why he was always in the cast for that time. It was from that night at the Garden, which we filmed as well.
I love that because everyone's like, oh, everyone was there for the cage match. But a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people had sold out because Warrior was back. That was like the big thing. Warrior's return to MSG, Warrior's back. So I just love that, like, oh, the Kliq kind of takes credit. But we're forgetting about the Warrior here. He was kind of a big draw for them, especially when he returned.
And the funny thing is when I was brought backstage for WWE in Brooklyn one night, I remember they were just pressing me for questions about the Kliq, but I was talking about the Warrior, and I was also talking about, hey, the Godwins won the tag titles that night, and it wasn't reversed. It wasn't reversed a minute later or a day later. It
Right.
was a legit tag title change, and that I thought that was our big night. Like, wow, we recorded the title change at the Garden. So
Crazy. Like, yeah, I when you think about it, I don't really remember that the Godwins, unless, you look at the results. Oh, that's right. They won the tag titles because there's so much else going on between the Warrior and the Kliq and the Curtain Call. It just like, it's what a remarkable night. When you saw the Godwins won the tag titles, you probably assumed that they're going to flip it right back, right? There's going to be some sort of chicanery and they're going to get the titles right back, the Body Donas.
well, at the time as a kid, even though you're kind of in the business, you're like, oh, it's the Garden. It might not change hands. If it was at Nassau Coliseum or any other estates, usually it wouldn't be that big of a deal to just change it, just to get the crowd going and then back and forth. But the Garden, they kind of have to, present something, even though it is a house show. They have to kind of do something different, which they
And
did.
and to sell out 19,000 people, even is a ton of people there. They got to do something, right? I mean, to get those, live up to the level of importance of how many people are actually there. That was pretty crazy.
It was probably the craziest garden show I remember. I've been to so many garden shows, Nassau Coliseums, and all of the other states. But for that house show, it was definitely a pay per view type feel. I can remember, I don't have to watch the tape. I can just remember everything that happened that night. It was just, wow, all that in one night.
I feel like they loaded it up too, like that whole night. Like, I mean, Austin's not Austin at that point, but he's on it. Jake the Snake is on it. Vader's on it. Yokozuna, Razor Ramon. I mean, there's a lot of guys on that card.
Yeah, it was stacked, and the Garden is their home ground, and they delivered. And then towards the end, they kind of upset the higher McMahon family, but hey, it had to be done sometime.
So when you look at it, right, Triple H, he beat Razor Ramon. I think it was the co-main, right? So Triple H beats Razor Ramon. Are you thinking anything at this point? Are you like, you're just, this is just a cool MSG show. You're not expecting anything at that point.
At that point, all I wanted to do was get my frustrations out as a kid, with the heels and babyface. I just wanted to start a chant, even though the Garden crowd was smart enough to know at the time that most of them were leaving. Scott and Kevin. But our section, we just started a "You Sold Out" chant, and that's our section that started that. You would probably think, oh, you guys recorded, and you guys started the chant. You guys are lying. You guys are. That makes no sense. But that's how passionate we were. Our crowd in section 306 or whatever it was, we started the chant, and we had to get it out there, and it was magical because back in those days in the WWF, you didn't have those kind of chants. It was mostly in the ECW where everybody would leave. They would berate them. You sold out, or they would curse them out, or they would say, please don't go, thank you. But we kind of implemented that into the WWF in '96 at the time.
Were you upset that Ramon was leaving? Were you pissed? Sounds like it.
Yeah, I was cursing him out during the whole show. It was on tape. Now I look back at it and like, oh, those are a couple of things I shouldn't have said to Razor or Diesel. But then again, as the wrestling fan in me, at the end of the night, I'm completely from heel to babyface. I'm turned and I'm loving them again. Like a typical wrestling fan. 1 hour before you hate them, cursing out, and now, oh, I love you now, guys. Oh, this is awesome. This typical wrestling fan, it's still in me.
Yep. So then, of course, the main event, Shawn Michaels defends the World Heavyweight title in a steel cage against Diesel. I feel like MSG cage matches go hand in hand throughout, obviously the history of MSG. It just goes hand in hand. Even up until this year was at MSG. I saw Punk versus Seth Rollins main event in the cage. It just goes hand in hand, right? I mean, that's like a huge, big match, MSG type feel to it.
Absolutely. The cage matches, I think what my friend Jason actually got the tickets for is for the cage match. I think that's what drew him in. Maybe we may have not have gone to that show. It doesn't matter if it's the blue cage, the actual steel cage, whatever structure it was. It's just that steel cage match environment, that's what drew him in, and we went.
So Michaels gets the win. Then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. Like, what's your thoughts? Because you could tell, like, people are shocked. They're yelling. They don't know what the hell's going on. What's going through your head as obviously Diesel takes the loss, but then all of a sudden, Diesel, Razor, Triple H, HBK are hugging in the ring, and they're all on each four corners of the cage. They're all celebrating. What did you think?
It was a lot to take in at the time because at the end, remember, Diesel was the bad guy. Hunter was a bad guy. Scott Hall was a good guy, got booed. But there was a lot of, if you really look at it, there was a lot of heel to face changes at the time because Diesel was on the ground, lifted up his hand, and Shawn gave him the Kliq sign and hugged him. So basically, you look at now, hey, Diesel's a good guy again. He turned just in a second. Razor came back after being booed. He's part of that. Okay, let's say goodbye. And then just out of nowhere where you don't expect it, it makes no sense to any kind of story line or whatever we know. The Garden where Hunter comes out, that was just probably the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen in wrestling. Was that.
I feel like people now would look at it and be like, "Oh, come on!" You're like, but in that day and age, that stuff never in a million years would happen, right? I mean, that's like the first time that they really basically keep breaking kayfabe and be like, "No, even though we're bad guys and good guys, we're all really friends." I mean, that never happened.
No, not at all. And the thing is, it's like Hunter was way out of character to even be close to these guys, and it meant nothing. But for us fans, even though I was somewhat in the business and doing all that stuff, I was still a fan at the time, and seeing that in person, whoa! I did not expect something like that, and nothing I expected. It was just it was really mind blowing. Yes, the business was changing. Yes, kayfabe was breaking here and there with Brian Pillman and all that. It was bound to happen, but that was just one of the best ones.
So good match, right? In the cage between them.
Oh, of course, very good match, and it was a decent long match, and I know Diesel was high during that whole match, but yeah, it was a great match.
So you knew he was going to lose, right? But you didn't know like what was going to happen afterwards. So you're not shocked at the outcome, but then you're shocked at the Kliq, really, at the curtain call, if you will.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the current call was just magic, and I remember, afterwards we filmed it. I never like went back home and said, "Oh, I wanted to see this again." It was just at the time it was so shocking. It was just like, "Oh, there's another thing we recorded," and then days, months, and years later, I'm like, "Oh, this thing's grown pretty huge."
When you're recording it, no one else recorded, right? There was no other footage. Nobody else ended up recording it that day at the Garden, right?
No, the WWE cameras turned off after the match was ended. The only other evidence, as far as footage goes, is just from other fans I've seen and just stuff I've seen online. Were about 6 to 8 pictures that are available from either I've seen from someone sending it to me or online or someone selling it on eBay. Just pictures from the crowd or inside the ring, but def- definitely 100% no video, because you would probably think, what two marks would want to sneak in a video to a stupid house show? That I mean, that's just ridiculous. Why would you want to
Right.
even tape? Why would you even want to tape that? It just makes no sense.
Right. So anything we're seeing online, like when people put it up or you see it on Twitter or wherever, that's from you guys. I mean, that's got to be that's your stuff basically that people are kind of posting over and over and over again.
Yes, it is, and the funny part about it is, me and Jason always laugh about it, and I tell everybody it's like most of it is copied over copied over copied from a VHS tape, and the
Yep.
quality's so bad. And you know, Jim Cornette even criticized me that the quality of my tape was so bad. But you have to remember that's like the fourth generation copy he's seen. I have
Yep.
not only the original VHS-C, which is on a camcorder, and I also have the original VHS with me as well. I have them both with me.
Crazy just to like think back at that time because WCW is obviously about to really heat up when they get Hall and Nash, but how do they get there is like the real thing. And it's like, wow, the WWF kind of let them go. Like they were letting their contracts go. They weren't going to re-sign them. They're going to go to the WCW for more money. So this was almost like a little bit like of an FU by the Kliq a little bit too. Like, hey, since we're leaving, we're going to do whatever the hell we want. Michaels is champ. He could do whatever he wants. Triple H, well, we find out he's probably going to, eat crap and like it, as Vince would tell him, right?
Yeah, and you know what? It all worked out in the end for everybody. It worked out for Shawn. It worked out for Hunter and Diesel as well. He's got his own podcast and everything as well.
And Hall and Nash changed the business. Hogan turns heel, Hall and Nash, NWO. I mean, that changes the business forever. So if Vince doesn't let them go, who knows what happens? Maybe we don't even get the Attitude Era eventually, right? I mean, everything from the curtain call kind of falls into place afterwards.
Yeah, it did kind of spiral from that. But then again, you have to realize everybody says, "Oh, that was Steve Austin's moment after the current call. There would be no Stone Cold." I think Steve Austin and Stone Cold would have happened regardless of the current call. It's just the timing that it happened.
So obviously your footage becomes infamous. I mean, obviously, God, this is almost 30 years later. We're still talking about your footage from the show. So it just keeps growing, gets bigger and bigger. How does WWE find out that you have this footage? And like, how do they contact you guys?
How did WB contact us? Do you ask
Yeah.
us?
Yep.
It was back in 2014, because there was a time from like when we recorded it till quite a few years later. I tried to keep hidden because I didn't want to get sued or get arrested and
Right.
everything. Even though I was 16, so I pretty much, even people that I wrestled with, I did backyard wrestling and all that. I would keep all that hidden. I would never tell them any of that I did that. And back then, you remember, it wasn't really out there. But then they showed it in '97 on Raw, October 6th. That was the day after the Pillman passed, and they showed the footage on Raw. The way the WWE contacted us is through LinkedIn. And they said that when they called us and everything, it was like 2014 late. And they said, we're doing a Kliq DVD and we want you guys to be a part of it. And the first thing I asked, how come we weren't contacted earlier? They said we were looking for you guys. And I said, oh, that was kind of weird because we were already on Wikipedia or anything, but maybe that was the case. I don't know. And then that's pretty much how they got in contact with us.
Don't need to know numbers, but was it like a financial agreement that that they want this tape, they want this footage? Is that like how it goes down?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. And then from there, we decided, okay, we're gonna do the Kliq DVD, uh, the tape rights and everything, and also a couple other programs we worked with A&E and Backstage at Raw, just a few others that I can't remember, and also for WWE's Ringer show as well.
Got to be kind of surreal, right? I mean, they're wanting footage from you. You know what I mean? Like you've been taping stuff your whole life from them and hotlines and stuff. So got to be a surreal feeling for you.
Yeah, especially as a fan, because I'm pretty much a nobody. I'm just a fan that loves the business, and here I am living a dream. Like, hey, I want to be in the WWE. I obviously, hey, if I was bigger, I'd be a wrestler, but it didn't happen that way. But I got my foot in some way, whether it was illegal or whatever it was. I got in some way, and I'll never forget that.
So they bring you backstage. Was that planned that they were going to kind of not ambush you, but they kind of ambush you a little bit, Triple H and Hall and Waldman and stuff. Was that planned or no?
All shoot. It was not planned at
Oh
all.
wow.
The the worst part about that whole night is us getting into the building because we had a problem getting into the building. So they're texting us. The producers are texting us. Hunter's waiting for us. Shawn Michaels waiting for us. And here we are. We're not even in the building to do our segment. Hey, Hunter's going to meet you at 6. We're going to do this, that. And they never said what they're going to do. It was pretty much like a meetup. And there was an issue of us getting in. So we almost missed that night of them arresting us, kayfabe. But I'm glad it had happened. So.
Did you know they were going to do the arrest gimmick? Did you know that they were going to put you in handcuffs?
No, not at all. They didn't warn us about that. It's like, so basically all those reactions from myself and Jason Cosmides of us getting arrested was all natural. It was all the real deal. And that whole footage was, like 30 minutes long. Obviously, they had to edit it to 3 minutes
Yep.
for YouTube or TV, but I have that whole footage of everything that went down, which was awesome.
That's so cool. That's awesome. I love that they're ribbing you guys too. Like, hey, it's pirating. There's a warning before the show. You're not supposed to do that. Like, I love that they said that.
Scott Hall was the one that actually came up with the idea to get us arrested. So
Nice.
I'm thankful for him for that.
What a great line for the business.
John, otherwise it would have probably just been, hey, nice to see you again. Paul, Shawn, Scott, take care. We were just the guys that were filming. We had fun. It would have just been a hello, goodbye. It may have made video or not. We don't know.
Man, just crazy to think like, hey, we're going to be fans. We're going to sneak a camera into the garden. We're going to film the garden. 20 years later, they're going to buy the footage. Then they're going to put it on a DVD. Then they're going to do all this other stuff with it, A&E and the biography and all this other stuff. And not only that, we're going to meet the guys that were involved in the whole thing. I mean, it's just so cool. What a moment for a true fan.
It really was, because the whole camcorder deal is, if you're going into the garden or Nassau Coliseum, you can't go in there like you're afraid. Oh, we're going to get caught. Let's hide this as much as possible. This is scary. I don't know if we should do this or not. What we did was we just walked through like nothing was going to happen. Even though what we were doing was illegal, in our minds, we thought what we were doing was normal. We're just fans that just want to record the show. Security rarely ever gave us a hard time. If they asked what was in the bag, we opened the bag. Camcorder was visible. If they asked what was there, we would just say, oh, it's just a camera. And boom, you're right in. That's it.
Love that. Damn.
So it was
Crazy,
easy.
crazy moment. Yeah, that's but kind of easy, right, for you guys to do that.
Very easy. I mean, I think we did it eight, 9 times. Garden Coliseum, and the reason why we started doing that is because in '94, Jason bought a bootleg video online, or from not online, but from somebody in '94 of Diesel winning the title from Backlund, and he bought it, and he said, "You know what? Wow, I'm so disappointed. You know what? The quality was so bad. Let me do this on my own." And that's where the idea came about. So we were lucky that day, but also we weren't lucky because we were recording them anyway, so it worked out. And we used to
Man,
purposely sit in the back. We used to sit in the 300 sections because if we were too close, security would have gotten us right away. And if we were way, way far back in the 400 section, then you're basically in dots.
yeah, yep. So when you really, if you think about it, if they were to catch you filming it, do they kick you out? Do they take your camcorder? Like, or are you not allowed back at WB events? Like, what happens if you get kicked out?
In that kind of situation, it happened to Jason once because I always blame it because he wasn't with me. So he went one time without me, and he started recording, and they actually took the tape from his camcorder, and then I think they either moved him or kicked him out, something like that. But I know for sure, whatever he was recording that night, they took his tape, and I think he put his camera away. I don't think they kicked him out, but I still remember that story he told me, and that was in like '96 also.
Nice. So the curtain call, you guys are kind of responsible for keeping it around. Though, if you think about it, like that's a huge moment. All those guys eventually kind of end up, quote unquote, getting in trouble with Vince. Although, Bruce Pritchard and Cornette and several people have said Vince kind of wasn't pissed at first, and then he became pissed once everybody else was so pissed, like Jim Ross and Cornette and Bruce, and they disrespected the business. So it's almost like that film and the curtain call itself almost like built within the night too. Like Vince wasn't mad, and then all of a sudden, it became a balloon almost. I mean, it just really blew up.
It really did, and the thing is, the only people that give me slack over it is the old timers. But then again, I love those guys. I love Bruce. I love Jim
Yep.
Cornette and all these guys. Those guys are my heroes. I grew up watching them. So whatever they feel about me, what I did, or what those guys did, that's fine. But from the majority of the wrestlers, I've got a lot of positive feedback from well-known names and fans all over the world. So I'm okay with that either way, whichever route they decide to take, how they feel about me recording it and distributing it or whatever it is.
To me, as a fan, obviously I'm a different perspective than probably a wrestler, but the fan is like, that's awesome. I wish more people did that. I wish they recorded every show, because even like with Sabu passing away, it's like, man, there's a match with him versus Chris Canyon, like from a WCW event, like, and everyone's like, I wish they filmed it. I wish they filmed it. So it's like, I wish more people would film house shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then back in the day, obviously it was hard to, but now again, everybody's filming everything. Everybody's smuggling in a camera, no matter what. But back in those times, camera wasn't small. It wasn't a huge camera, but it was a camcorder, still pretty big. It's like 10 times the size of a cell phone,
Yep,
but
definitely.
I'll tell you, it was a lot of fun.
So we'll wind it down here. We're head towards the finish. What do you think is the legacy of the curtain call and like the footage? Like, what do you think looking back when people think about the curtain call and the footage and everything?
I mean, I think about it a lot as a mark as I am. From the beginning, since I started watching in 1987 till now, it mind bogs me because I see it everywhere. I saw it at the Hall of Fame footage with Hunter. Just with Kevin Nash's Kliq This podcast, I seen it just a couple days ago, and 29 years later, yes, we're still talking about it. It must mean something. It's not something just buried in the past. That the anniversary is coming up in just a few days from now. May 19th is coming up, and I'm sure I'll get some messages here and there about it, or people will post about it. It's gonna live on, and the crazy part is that I've had people, oh, when is your footage going to be on the Hall of Fame, or when are you going to be on the Hall of Fame? I just laugh at that because that's ridiculous. That a fan like me would be in the Hall of Fame, but it made me think like, oh, now they're doing matches in the Hall of Fame. Steve Austin versus Bret Hart. Who knows? Maybe 10 years down the road from now, they'll induct the footage into the Hall of Fame. You never know, because they have separate wings in the Hall of Fame now, and little by little, they're trying to get the WWE universe involved in everything with whatever it is. So you never know. I mean, it's a wild guess, but it may happen.
Hey, it definitely could, or if it's one of the biggest moments, in their history. They got to bring it up and put some, put some flavor to it. Like we're like, hey, let's really, promote this, or let's really maybe Hall of Fame worthy, or whatever it is. But that footage it lives on in infamy forever. So it's one of the their big moments, their big crowning achievements, if you will, because so many people talk about the curtain call to this day. Like you said, 29 years later, people are talking about it over and over. It almost just keeps getting bigger. 30th anniversary, you know what I mean? Next year, it's pretty big.
Wow, yeah, and it's crazy to think. Like I told you before, I'm a big tape collector. I have, over 400 VHS tapes, and the one I keep with me here is the curtain call, and I have it with me right now.
Nice. So where can everybody find you, follow you, all your social media, all that other stuff, and get to know you a little better?
Just on Instagram, WWE Curtain Call Kid.
You're still on X? Do you still do X and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm still on X, but I don't really have any followers on there. Just maybe 50 or 60, something like that.
But you probably will be posting next week, though. I would guess, right? You're going to post for the curtain call. You got to post something on there, right?
Yeah, I definitely do.
I love it. But I got to say, thank you not only for coming up, but thank you for recording that footage, because, without guys like you, fans like me, we were kind of in the dark, if you will. Now that you put that footage out there, now everybody knows the story. Now they can do DVDs on it like they have and talk about the Kliq and open things up for stuff that fans might not have known or didn't know back then, but know now. So thank you for recording that. It's just a great piece of history.
No, thank you so much, because I've watched your show many times, and I appreciate everything you do, and that's why I wanted to come on here. Otherwise, I would probably be like, it's another podcast I don't want to be on, but I've seen your stuff, and that's why I wanted to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciated it. I had to hound you, though. I had to say, hey, I got to get you on. So thank you, man. Appreciate it, though. Appreciate it all the time tonight.
Awesome, John. Thank you.